It's time for Living Your Purpose, a motivational and inspirational podcast with Peter and Joyce Nielsen.
Hey everybody, it's Peter and Joyce Nielsen for Living Your Purpose podcast. We are remote, we're outside, and it is live. We do see some clouds coming in, so you'll experience maybe a thunderstorm with us. But we are uncut, uncensored, and we're going to go for it. So today is exciting because, I speak all over the world on mindset, and that's something that came near and dear to your heart that you wanted to talk about today.
Well, yeah, and with May being Mental Health Awareness Month, as you know from our previous podcast, we thought we would continue that on, and today's topic is going to be about mental fitness and really how to deal with stress management to have a better sense of well-being.
Yeah, and before we get started, if you're a first-time watcher or listener, just if you like this content, just go down to the subscribe button and just share your love and tell your friends about this, because we love what we do and it's so important to truly help as many people and reach as many people. For me, one of the most powerful things you could ever do is change your mindset. Get your mind out of the gutter. And we live in such a stressful world that I know that we have this fight or flight that God put in us, and it's called cortisol, and it's this hormone that's released when we are in stressful situations.
Yeah.
And thousands of years ago, when the dinosaurs were here and they were cavemen, they had to do crazy things that we even look at now, like how did they get through that? But there's been also recent studies that I mentioned in our last podcast on really petite women like you having their son or their daughter trapped underneath a car, and lifted it enough to release that child.
It's all about the endorphins. The endorphins kick in an emergency situation, but you're onto something there. I mean, stress is defined as your natural response to a challenge or demand that's at hand, and we all deal with that differently, whether you said like fight or flight or
if stress is here for a short period of time, you're going to talk about on some of the signs, but I want to just talk about right now. If you're under a stressful situation, your body releases cortisol for a short period of time. It could really help you. If it's here for a long period of time, a delayed period of time, it then increases something called homocysteine. Homocysteine causes havoc on your body, inflammation, cancer, heart conditions. So it's crazy when people say, well, stress kills. Well, stress really does kill. So that's why it's so important to navigate through these stressful times and truly take control of your own mindset.
Yes, mindset is key, and there are different variations of stress, as you were just discussing. You can have an acute stressor, which is just something for a temporary moment that is really making you define how you have to react to something and maybe causing that little bit of panic in your heart to race or the other symptoms you get. But then there's also a chronic stress, something like cancer or whatnot that you're dealing with over the long term. So what we want to talk about today is just different strategies that you can use to navigate through that, whether it's an acute stress or a chronic stress.
Yeah, and if it's something that's just temporary, it still could increase your blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
It still can do certain things, correct?
Yeah, headaches, high blood pressure, sleep problems, anxiety, depression, fatigue, irritability, changes in appetite, all those.
I have all those except depression.
Then you are definitely under some stress right now. We need to go over ways you can manage that, honey. No,
Exercise is great
Yeah.
medicine for stress. Being with your significant other is another amazing stress reducer. Our little, expedition to Florida for 4 days in adult time that just truly mellowed both of us back on our way back where we needed that.
Yep.
We need for God to fill our cup, because if your cup is not filled, how can you give? You can't.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's long-term stress.
Mhm.
And what are some of the symptoms of long-term stress?
Well, just what I already mentioned: headaches, high blood pressure, sleep problems, anxiety, depression, fatigue, irritability, changes in appetite. But no matter what kind of stress it is, you can take similar strategies to navigate through that. And like one of the strategies would be practicing mindfulness versus or meditation. So if you're being mindful about something, you're staying in the present moment and you're observing your thoughts and your feelings, and you're really trying to connect with your mindset.
Yep.
Right?
And I call it gratitude. I mean, it's like, I've said this, studies have proven it, but if you get up in the morning and the first thing you start thinking about are things that you're grateful for, not the things that you don't have, but the things that you do have. If you fill your brain with that, and by time you walk, say, from your bedroom to your kitchen, you're going to walk into that. And what I mean is that if my mind is filled with, I'm grateful that I'm healthy, I don't have pain, I have a roof over my head, I have an amazing wife, I have an amazing life, I love my children, my grandchildren. If I fill that up in my brain, there's no way in the same brain I can be anxiety ridden, filled with anger, or depressed.
Yeah.
Medical science has said that, not Peter's principles. Medical science has said that. So that's why mindfulness / gratitude, meditation or praying, that's why we love nature. I mean, when we're by the water or by nature, it's so majestic and it's so bigger than self. I'm able to hear God when I'm in our backyard. I'm able to hear and not hear that gnat sound of just confusion. And it's like gnat sound in television is when you're in one room, but you hear people talking in the next room. You can't make out what they're saying, but it's distracting. And in life, gnat sound is when you live like, that's why I used to, be born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. It was too much gnat sound. I walk out of the house and the bus and the fire truck and the cops and the people and the crowds. It drove me crazy. That's why I needed space, and I needed the tranquility to be able to hear that superior being that I call God. Make sense?
It does. And I mean,
You look beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
I love your color today.
Mindset is different for everyone. Some people love that thrive and vibe of the city.
Agreed.
But really, there is something to that science on what you focus your thoughts on, kind of like laws of attraction. Like attracts like, no matter what level that is, good, bad.
Agreed. And I'll even take
energy.
I'll take it one step further. Is the most powerful thing you could ever do is have a change mind. So if we're constantly have a tape recorder that we're speaking to ourselves. Sometimes I say that God's speaking to me. Sometimes I say that my flesh is speaking to me or the enemy is speaking to me. But you're constantly going through that in your head. And if you start believing the negativity of, I'm not going to be good in this marriage, I'm not going to make this diet work, this job sucks, I've been trying to stop smoking for 6 years, can't do it, want to lose weight, but why bother?
Right.
All those things that are going through your mind are going to literally come to fruition, and you're prophesizing. Because I always say, what you focus on this morning, like if you're focusing on that gratitude, that's how you're going to live this afternoon. If you're focused on stress, anxiety, depression, and you're filling your brain, your mind with negativity, you're speaking life or death into your future. So it's almost a great application is to train yourself to be more mindful. Train yourself to be filled with gratitude. People that, study after study, people that are more grateful live longer, are happier, and healthier. drop mic. I'm in.
Yeah, to have that mindset trained to when you're looking at a challenge or a problem, how you're going to approach it. You can let it overwhelm you and feel scattered and, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? This is the most terrible thing. And really have a panic attack and freak out about it. Or you can approach it as, okay, this is challenging, but what are the steps I need to do to tackle it? In the end, the outcome, how could it be a positive reflection on my life? And it's really training your mind to approach situations differently despite what you're feeling. Because you're always going to feel something, but you can put your feelings aside and you can train yourself to think through it, pause, and really figure out. And that's one of my most challenging aspects is I'm unfiltered.
I wasn't going to say it.
I'm emotional. My emotions often take what I'm feeling often will lead the direction I'm going, and I'm still working on daily trying to train myself
growing and you are learning
to accept those feelings, but not to let it control how you are reacting to a problem. That's so key. If you can do that right there, you will have so much more success in life on every level.
Put it this way, kudos for you saying that. I couldn't agree more. And for all the people that act in emotion first, please listen to this. If you get anything out of this, just do the 5-minute, even the 3-minute rule. Before you open up your mouth, no matter how irate, no matter how wrong someone is that's on the other side of that table, no matter how much you disagree with something, make sure you have time for your brain to filter out all the toxic waste and be logical and be mindful of what's coming out of your mouth, because those words can never, ever be taken back. It's just so important. Emotions is great, but you don't want to live on that because you're going to. When I was young, I lived on emotions. I said things that I burned bridges. Right. I blew them up.
Impulsivity can be
your
worst
disaster.
nightmare.
It was mine.
Or your best friend, but you don't know which way it's going to go.
Right. Because I ruined great potential relationships. It was 100% me when I was like 18 or 23 or whatever. I would just shoot from my hip, and then that night, the one thing that God has put into my heart is accountability. I don't blame anybody but myself. If I fall off my bicycle, what did I learn? If we get into a debate, what could have I done better? If I'm doing something with a transaction in business and it didn't go my way, how could I have done that better? Those are all mindful things that you could learn and teach yourself.
Let's talk about something else that I think all of us love. Endorphins. You said physical activity.
Yeah.
Another great strategy for dealing with stress.
Yeah.
So
exercise is the best medicine. I don't have it on this shirt, but I have it on one of my shirts where it's just, that's one of my mottos: exercise is medicine, and it's the best medicine. Think about it, we have these things, I'm not going to get too deep on everybody, but we have these things called neurotransmitters. I mean, everything really, this beautiful computer up here that God made so chemically, wonderfully balanced, it is
beautiful up there. He has a beautiful mind.
So do you. We got the serotonin, which is that feel good, and you could eat certain foods. You could have cherries, tart cherries, you could have turkey, you could have a lot of things that have L-tryptophan in them that basically then convert to your serotonin. You got melatonin, which helps you fall asleep, which also is a cousin, serotonin, and you got dopamine, which I love, which is that upper. It's better than any espresso, it's better than any caffeinated drink, and it just feels good. I love to be driven on dopamine. Yeah. And then you have something called endorphins that are created with exercise, and it's called a runner's high. And you're doing cardio, you're doing a walk, you're doing a bicycle, you come back and you didn't even want to do it 2 hours earlier. You get back and the both of us say, I feel so damn good
Yeah.
that I did that. And we end up going out to dinner and staying up late and we feel great. And it was like, before that, I could have took a nap.
Right, I was tired. Endorphins are mood lifters, natural mood lifters. It's one of the best ones you're gonna get for every reason he just explained. Even if it's a 30-minute walk, like it doesn't have to, more intense is better, but if it's something that physically you're not capable of, a walk is great. And a lot of times when you are introduced with demands and challenges, that's one of the best things you can do, is give yourself a timeout and go on that walk. Do that exercise. Let those endorphins really fill your body, and then let your thoughts come to you and work your way through the problem.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And even with a mind shift, you know, I'll call it a mind shift. We're just tweaking our thought process. You know, in the great big book, the bestseller of all times, in First Timothy, it says, train yourself to be godly. We're all sinners. We all make mistakes. We're clusters. We're train wrecks, a lot of us. If you're not, I am. And all I know is that every day I fall short of living in Him, but I have another day to do it better than yesterday. So what I'm saying is, with a mind shift, if you could train your emotions to shut up at times, and if you could truly get your mind out of the gutter, you're going to get your finances out of the gutter, your family out of the gutter, your health out of the gutter, because everything starts with this computer. This, you know, I remember, I'm going to just not get off track here, but when I went down the second time with the death experience with Crohn's, in a coma for 4 days, you know, they put defibrillators on me 5 different times in 8 hours. And when I arrived at the hospital, but all I can say is that when all that happened, I could have easily, when I got home, I went from 198 pounds down to 149 pounds. Instead of looking like Hercules, I look like Pee Wee Herman. And I cried when it took me almost 3 weeks to climb 11 steps to the master bedroom. And when I looked into the mirror by myself and I got out of the shower, I just cried and I says, my body is my business. I've won 50 bodybuilding titles. What do I do now? And the beautiful thing, I felt the Holy Spirit spoke to me and says, you got it in your hard drive. All you got to do is get up and do it again. And it pissed me off. I was like, I don't want to do it again. I don't want to do it again. I was doing the Today Show every day on NBC, and I was wearing a long sleeve, baggy sweatsuit. And I remember after almost like having a baby, almost after 9 months, I had the confidence to take it off, not to scare people. And these things called muscles, they grew back with a lot of hard sweat equity and being diligent at the breakfast, lunch, and dinner table. And all I can say, if this guy from Brooklyn, New York, was down for the count, could come back up and not only be in better shape, but have even a better testimony, a better story, it set me on fire. But it was my mind that I had to change, because what I visually saw, I emotionally said, I'm done, I'm cooked, I can't do this anymore. I don't even look like myself. I don't even recognize myself. I'm going to scare my viewers. And what it actually did was, I was transparent to my viewers. They knew, because on Dateline they put Peter's story, and it actually won an Emmy, and they followed me. They got closer to me because of my intimacy with my viewers. And all they did was to teach me was, what I think is how I live. What I speak is what I prophesize, good or bad. So I love this being healthy when it comes to your mindset, your mind shift. It doesn't take a lot. Some of the applications that Joyce is saying is so spot on, but stress kills. And if your mind is in the gutter, you're stressed, you're climbing out of your skin, you're depressed, you're gonna do things to blow up the bridge like I did, and possibly hurt yourself. Maybe not physically, but emotionally, relationally. I mean, I know people that screwed up marriages because their mind. They would drive people crazy. Their occupation, they would get fired. They were good workers, but they got in their own head and they sabotaged anything or any gift that God has given them. My hope and my prayer, that's not you. But if it is you, you're watching or listening to this for a reason.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my gosh, that totally hits home.
It does me too. I mean, you know, it does me too because
Let that sink in.
right, we're all imperfect, but we serve a perfect God. And all I can say is that
Yeah.
God's grace, His grace is so mighty. And God has given me grace, and grace is unmerited favor. It's something you don't deserve, but God gives it to you anyway. Because this is not a game where God's saying, okay, you got to prove to me, you got to do all these things to be so good. No. We're all imperfect. And all we need to do is accept who He is, and we are covered. But we also need to grow because we have this little thing called free will. So anything, you know, regardless of what your belief system is, anything is a sin, in my opinion, in my world, if you know that He is telling you, stop it, stop, don't do it, no. Even if no one else knows, but you know that it's wrong, but you continue to do it, shame on you. That's when it gets heavy. That's when the enemy gets in your head. That's when you implode, in my opinion, because you're not evenly yoked. You don't have mental fitness. You don't. Because if your computer system if your hard drive is not working, I don't care how good you look, I don't care how much money you have, you're gonna eventually crash.
Oh, 100% truth. And so much goes into what you feed your brain, what you feed your mind.
Yes.
And your mindset can't function properly and you can't organize your thoughts properly if you're feeding it crap nutrition. And another thing that we haven't discussed is the importance, and it's so crucial, is your sleep. Your sleep patterns.
Yep.
If you, and especially for mental health, and as I mentioned before in the previous podcast, I have some struggles that I go through with anxiety and depression and bipolar. And for me, sleep is imperative. If I don't have consistent, regular, uninterrupted sleep, it literally will trigger me in the worst kind of ways, in ways that other people that don't suffer with those deficiencies, maybe they can handle it and tolerate it a little better. Maybe they can go on 5 hours or 4 hours of sleep and they work 60 hours a week or whatnot. But me, I have to have 8 or 9 hours, or it literally will trigger me. I can't organize my thoughts correctly. I don't stay focused. My moods are all over the board, and it's just so crucial. And even if you don't suffer with a mental health disorder, you may think you can survive on 5 hours of sleep, but your production level and what you could be doing if you had that 7 or 8 more as an adult,
If I could even add to that, you're spot on. When you sleep is the only time you repair on a cellular level, even with muscles. If I work out and if I'm out all night with her and we don't sleep, that workout went right down the drain. Actually, I'm urinating a lot of that out because protein is the building block to muscle. You're tearing it down. You got lactic acid, waste byproduct. You got to flush that out and then feed more protein, and then you build. So my point is simple. 7 to 8 hours is a must. You're going to not only repair on a cellular level, you're going to repair by defragging like you would defrag your computer. You're defragging, all the files are going where they're supposed to go while you're sleeping. if you don't, I mean, think about it. I won't mention specific wars, but there were wars in time that were documented that the enemy would literally sleep deprive us, put all crazy music loud, wake us up every literally like say 15 minutes, put cold water on us so that it wouldn't allow our brains to defrag, to get the rest, to heal. And also if you're not sleeping, you're having higher homocysteine levels. So what does that cause? More havoc, more stress, more disease, more inflammation.
Yeah, isolation was also a tactic that was often used.
Yes.
And that's another strategy, is getting community, social connection and support, staying in touch with your loved ones, utilizing, there's free resources out there, whether it's finding a different therapist, an online support group, in person, even if it's you take your dog to a dog park and
Right.
you're interacting with other people with their animals, or whatever it is for you. If you isolate yourself and you're feeling the effects of tremendous stress and anxiety and depression, it can make you retreat into yourself more and go into a downward spiral.
Isolation causes depression. Isolation and depression is a perfect recipe for addiction. It's just that way. Unity causes togetherness, causes light, causes love.
Sorry.
And then the other thing that I want to talk about real briefly before we part is that I just did something for Motivational Monday on social media, and I found it fascinating, so I wanted to film it. And it's reading. What you read, you know, if you read 600 words, which is, you know, say every day 600 words, it equates to about 3 books a month. And what medical science is finding is that not only will it keep your brain young, but it will also keep you healthier. You'll live longer. You'll be less stressed. You'll just enjoy life greater. So think out of the box. Do something that you've never done before. You just may like it. But that's something simple. You'd say, how does that have to do with anything, you know, when it comes to fitness? Well, mental fitness is important. We're finding out even jigsaw puzzles, you know, that people do keep your brain sharp. Yahtzee, whatever the case is, Monopoly, those things with your family are great ways to keep your brain sharp.
Yeah, or those puzzles, or like you said, in reading, have a variety of stuff.
Yeah.
And you could be reading 4 or 5 different things at the same time.
Yeah.
And I believe,
you can even listen to them too.
Count? There we go. Yeah. I am an audio.
She's an audio
fanatic.
freak, man. She must, and I adore her.
I listen to it while I'm doing just
you do at least 2 or 3 a day,
or exercises. I feel some raindrops. We might have to wrap this up.
Yes. We are going to. But listen, this was something that it's a great topic because it really centerpieces who you are. You need to be spiritually fit. You need to be mentally fit, and you need to be physically fit, nutritionally fit. But if you're not mentally fit, if you're not mindful, if you don't have gratitude living in you, you're going to get unhealthy, and all those areas are going to go sideways in the weeds. If you do want to catch us, we're on TV every Tuesday and Thursday on Astound TV network at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're on worldwide on Roku, where you could find it on DBTV at 8:30 a.m. every Saturday and Sunday Eastern Time.
Social media, Peter and Nielsen. You can email us with any topics you want us to cover. At Peter
at peternielsen.com, and on social media at Peter and Nielsen. We love you guys. We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't feel that you enjoyed what we're doing. We want to hear your comments below. And until next week, Joyce and I really want you to have a blessed week, and make sure that you search for living your purpose, because that's what life is all about. Bye. Hi, I'm Peter Nielsen. I'm excited because I'm going to be with you every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Astound TV network. We'll be dealing with nutrition because you are what you eat. Physical activities, whether it's indoors or outdoors, as well as wonderful things you could do with your entire family. Let's get better together, mind, body, and spirit.
Tune in to Peter's Principles every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Astound TV network.